Welcome to Red Barn Talks, where stories flow like the stream and the rocks can out-talk me. Hello, I'm Lou, and this is your backstage pass to the incredible Barn family, the soul folk, healers, and seekers behind Red Barn Rocks. Each episode brings you closer to the people rocking the barn with their passions, sharing joy, energy, and a little bit of magic. So come on in the barn, the doors are always open. In this episode of Red Barn Talks, we welcome Patrick Conroy, a Pennsylvania native with stories that'll send a chill up your spine. From deep northeastern Pennsylvania woods come strange sounds, shadowy figures, and clues that point to something not quite human or of this world. Patrick shares his strange experience with the legend himself, Bigfoot, and some out-of-this-world UFO sightings. So grab a seat, pour some coffee, and settle in for a tale or two you won't soon forget.
So my name is Patrick Conroy. I'm grateful to be here. Like Lori said, I'm well interested in UFOs. Had experiences as a kid, which are really hard to deny. Just lights in the sky moving around really fast. My dad showed us these as kids. And it's something that I think most people are interested in. It's been taboo, the topic of UFOs, for a long time. But recently, I think within the last few years, more and more people are starting to open their mind to the fact that these things do exist and we don't really understand them well. Some personal experiences of seeing craft that can't be captured on camera, hearing a sound of 1,000 voices coming through the woods, sound of almost like how it would be covered in the Bible, where they spoke of thunder moving through. And
Babel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And with the Bible and UFOs, we find that there are encounters throughout history where people are experiencing life forms on these spacecraft, and they think that it's God, and they don't have any way of communicating about it except for it was a chariot in the sky, or it sounded like thunder. So I really think that what we have here is being visited by higher dimensional beings, which are either angels or aliens, and that they have been helping humanity get to where we're at now, that protecting us from ourselves, watching us. And I think that we're getting closer to where there's going to be disclosure, and the veil is getting thinner. I think that in the next few years, the government will be forced to come forward and say that UFOs do
Let me
exist.
ask you, do you believe that all of the higher life forms are here to protect us? Or you can't deny that there are forces of not good. Would that be more of an earthly vibration?
Yeah, so I just came across yesterday that these extraterrestrials that were working with elites that were suppressing the people and keeping them as slaves, basically, they're no longer on the planet. They left in 2021. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true, but one thing that I do believe is true is that higher dimensional beings that have higher vibration are not going to be harming people, because they don't have any need from anything here in the third dimension. So they're not going to hurt us. I think that there's a pact with extremely advanced beings that they will do no harm.
Makes sense.
And
Vibration is high enough. I don't even know if they would be capable of it.
right.
That is something, again, that takes us back down here onto the earth and the lower vibrations. I know, though, that, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's true.
But one of the things, though, that I've read, and again, don't ask me where, is that the government will need another enemy.
Mhm.
So it will be portrayed as
Yeah.
evil coming in and them wanting to take over and all this other stuff, because they need
Right,
other than war.
War is what makes war is the machine that is the economy. It has been in the past. People have funded both sides of wars many of times throughout history. And when they run out of wars, then they'll need to find an enemy And what better enemy than, an imaginary threat from
Now
space?
we can generate pictures. We can generate. We
Right.
can make it. We can make it they can make it anything they want it to be.
I
Go
th-
ahead.
that
Mark.
Patrick
I'm
brought
sorry.
up a interesting point here, Lori, certainly about vibration. Doing some other research and some of the studies that I've been looking at is that are we in what they call the third dimension, or is that what you guys think? And some of the higher beings might be in the fifth dimension, and it's just different vibrational frequencies, and why some people could see things that other people can't. Like myself, I might be stuck in this third vibrational thing, and then maybe somebody like yourself, Lori, or even Patrick, who have had other experiences. Do you sometimes operate in the fourth or the fifth dimension, and then there's other dimensions? What do you guys think about different dimensions?
I'm just going to address that really quickly. And
Mhm.
Patrick, I know this is your show, so I don't mean to.
That's
We
okay.
don't want to
That's
take
good.
it over. But one of the things that was said to me a long time ago in a guided meditation was, don't question your imagination while you're doing it. Only because just go through the thing. If an experience happens, don't question it at all, but certainly don't question it then. And then the more I have found that you don't question it, you can't deny that more happens. And then you come to a point where you're like, well, is it my imagination? Or is this really happening? And then it happens so much that it crosses that line to the point that there has to be something to this, because there's just too much synchronicity. There's too much. But that's that part you and I talked about, and I'll let you go into that further, is that being open to it.
And I think that any experience that we have is like a gift. So say the Pleiadians, they're seventh dimensional beings.
That's where I was almost heading.
So explain to everybody that may not know who
The Pleiadians, they're from a star system that's not too far. They were created in the seventh dimension, and they're basically a people. They have blonde hair, blue eyes. They look very human. There's some here on Earth. Most of the ships that we see in the sky are all Pleiadian related. These Pleiadians are angels. They're part of the Galactic Federation, which is a group of star travelers, and there's many species, and they all are in the name of peace. They're light protectors. And I think that having an experience with a higher dimensional being or some type of phenomenon allows our mind to open to new things.
Yeah.
So say we have an encounter, we see a ship or even Bigfoot, something happens, we have an experience, we see a ghost or an apparition, then we're more likely to see them in the future because now we know that they're there, we're aware of them, and we start to study them more, and it opens the door to these things. You mentioned flat Earth before. Flat Earth is, I think, just as good of an argument as round Earth is. And I think that these questions really help us open our mind and to think free, because if we only think the way that we've been told to think and what to think, then we're closing ourselves off to the endless possibilities that is the
I think that it's both. I came up with my scientific that I have no
Yes,
mathematics
you have.
for.
Oh my God.
But
I
believe it's
remember this
both.
show.
I
Yeah.
believe it to be both.
Patrick,
I'll
one
tell
of
you
the
about that later.
first shows that we did on Searching the Truth was we had an individual talked about flat Earth for about an hour. It was what Maury said. And I'm thinking, come on, Warren, please give me a break here, right? But once again, this is about opening up, being free. You bring up the Pleiadians, a lot of different life forces are out there, reptilians, some good, some bad.
Right.
I mean, and even with the moon, I've been looking into, we're looking at almost what do they call it? Like a hologram. What, so we're almost living in a
matrix,
a
simulation.
almost a game. Yeah, that was done a while back. And then you start thinking, am I really doing it? Is this really happening? after being abandoned supposedly 20-something thousand years ago with the reptilians,
Yeah.
and when you talk about the whole Federation.
And I do have to say, it's whenever we put on Explorecast here and with Patrick and I, and we talk about, it's to your comfort level.
Right.
There's things that people talk about that I'm just like, yeah, no, whatever.
Right.
And there's other things that really resonate with me and I can get on board with. So just,
Yeah.
that's just out there as a free to anybody that's,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think it's good to
but
discuss
it's-
these things.
but it's fun and it's good and it opens your mind, I think. So-
Yeah, and I
definitely.
think faith is a huge part of the whole process, especially since we're such mental beings, that if we are closed off to believing something, then the chances of it happening for us are basically zilch. They're not there. It's like if we're praying to something that doesn't exist and we're asking for something from it and we don't really believe in it, then we're not going to get any results from that. Christ said the faith of a mustard seed can move a mountain. And I think what he was saying is that the power that we have inside of us, each and every one of
Oh
us,
my God, yeah.
is immense.
Yeah, and I think that I personally believe that the Bible and religion has been hijacked by
Too.
the powers to be for control purposes, for money purposes, I think it's so much more
Mm.
than we can even fathom. But
Do you guys think
So I-
some of this is generational also? As somebody my age, I mean, like if we brought this up when I was a kid, it was pretty well knocked down right away.
Well,
Those
yeah.
stop, you're, making the, you don't need to. And it seems as though that, at least with the younger generation and people that are younger, they're a little bit more open to, and it seems as though that helps generate more.
And I think it goes back to experience. I have had experiences that I cannot deny and you and I talked about it. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
If you've never had an experience, then everything we're talking about is crazy.
I think, and a lot of people don't even ask for these experiences where they hear someone says, Joe says, I saw a UFO on Tuesday. And Bill says, well, yeah, he's just full of crap.
Right.
I talked with my grandmother, my mother. I mean, here's a perfect example. Okay, here's a perfect example. My mom. What are you searching for? Like, what is wrong with you? Right. Like, okay, nothing's wrong. No, I find it interesting. I find it, and different things have happened. Oh yeah, I don't know. I think you're crazy. Oh, but no, your grandma said hi last night. Maybe not in the same
Right.
conversation, but she'll tell me things like Nana has came last night, said hi, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm
bring it up.
crazy one.
Right.
I
you
don't,
bring that
I
up,
haven't
right.
talked to my grandmother.
I think that's a great point,
Oh.
Patrick, that you just brought up, because personally, I've been doing that a lot more. I've been actually asking. And a lot of this comes from the rocks and the crystal. And the stuff that I've seen, especially over the last few years, has really opened up my mind. And now it's like, I'm asking. So open it up. Let's, please come, show me, do this. Not necessarily show me but it's, I want to learn more about this.
There's a verse explaining this parable about a woman who goes and sees a judge and she begs for something and the judge says no. And she comes back the next day and she begs for it and he says no. After the 20th time of this woman coming in there, the judge gives her what she asks for.
Mm.
And that's how we're told to ask for things. We're told to ask. Christ said, just be relentless in asking for what you want to the universe. Be very persistent. A few days ago, I was out. The sky was really clear, and I was just asking, please let me see a ship. Let me see a ship. And I didn't see a ship, but I saw a shooting star. And the next day, I saw a ship. And it was a rainbow ball next to the sun that looked like the sun. And then after watching it for longer, a white-looking ship-like object flew into it. And I attribute that to asking to see that. I'm asking.
And Patrick, what do you say to people? What would you say to people? Because you're here amongst friends and people who are on the same
wavelength.
What do you say to people or don't you say anything to people that may not?
Like to open the eyes
I do
to it, because I think that if they were to take a look for themselves, they would have an experience that would help even accelerate the process for other people. And I say to anyone that thinks that UFOs or any of this is bogus, I say sit in quiet meditation, ask the universe to see something, and then look up.
Then see it. There you go.
You have to look
Yeah,
up
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
going to see it.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah.
times we don't.
There you go. You had an experience, and we've talked about this with, we'll touch lightly on this and we'll have you back again. But tell us about your experience with what you feel was Bigfoot.
My
Bigfoot
first
was
experience probably when I was 16, a group of friends and I went to an area in Lake Erie called Area 51.
In Lake Erie?
In Lake Erie, there's an
We're
area
in
called
Pennsylvania.
Area 51.
Okay.
I don't know why it was named that, but we
Uh-huh.
were there. We had a tent set up and we had a fire. Fire was blazing. Everyone's having a good time at this little party. And I had a Ford Taurus in 1992. It had no key fob or anything. It was an old car. I think it had
Roll windows.
roll windows.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, my car is flashing and beeping and all the lights are
Wow.
going off and the horns honking. Everything is going crazy. And I I walk over to the car, turn it on. It's still doing it. Nothing. It won't turn off. I start the car. I turn off the car, start it. I can't get the lights or the horn to stop. So I walk back over to the fire. And the next thing we know is there is a sound that sounds like 1,000 voices ranging from men to women, just a constant screaming sound that moved through the woods like a wave. And we all jumped in this tent and zipped up the door like it was going to protect us from whatever it
Yeah,
was.
whatever. Oh my gosh.
So I think that was Bigfoot. I know Bigfoot and UFOs go hand in hand. There was a
They
case
seem to.
in Pennsylvania where across the whole entire state, cops recorded 911 calls where half the people saw a UFO and half the people saw Bigfoot.
Wow.
So
Oh,
I
wow.
think I think what happens is that a higher dimensional being, when it interacts with our dimension, we only perceive it by the way it affects our reality.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we can't necessarily see a higher dimensional being, but we can see it distorting our reality.
So it's a UFO.
Right.
we
Or a
go
plane.
right to
It could
there,
look
yeah.
like a plane or it could.
Yeah.
And then I think the best experience that I had with Bigfoot was right at my house here in Tunkhannock, standing on the wood line on New Year's. It was just 7 or 8 heavy knocks from the wood line right across from my porch. It was super bizarre. It was from me to the wall away, which is maybe 15 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the typical knocking of a stick against a tree.
Wow. Wow.
And in dreams, I see Bigfoot. And
You said something also about throwing a rock against your face there.
Yeah. Bigfoot communicates through throwing stones, it appears. And to me, it does anyways. And I've heard other people say this, that Bigfoot throws stones or small sticks very close to people to let them know that he's there. And it is frightening.
Yeah.
We're in
yeah.
northeastern
So everybody,
Pennsylvania.
and so the Bigfoot topic came up between Patrick and I because I had heard a noise years and years ago, and hunters were outside dining in an outdoor dining area, and we got talking, and I had explained the noise, and they said, I thought it was a mountain lion, and they said, no, they said, you heard Bigfoot. And I thought they were just like
Being
joking. Come on, you guys. They're like, no. You could tell by the way that they were responding to me, thinking that they were kidding. They're like, you talk to 95% of the hunters that hunt throughout here, New Jersey, upper New York, and somebody's got some kind of an experience.
Yeah.
I don't know.
so the takeaway out of all of this stuff, ask and
Yeah.
You receive.
and you
Ask and you
receive
shall receive.
and open your minds up, right? And,
Yeah.
and, you
That's
know,
right.
You don't know what we're gonna find. If you're afraid, you're really not.
Fear is definitely a
Yeah.
lower vibration emotion that definitely controls us from reaching any type of potential that we have.
The lower vibration, maybe for another time.
Yes, Pat.
The rocks maybe at a 1 vibration, plants at a 2, we're at a 3 vibration. You talked about
See,
the
I think it's
Palladians,
just the
so
opposite.
it could be more.
I
I don't
think it's just the
know.
When you
opposite.
asked about the dimension, so
Yeah.
we're in the third, which
Yeah.
is physical, the astral, where we can go when we dream. We
Okay.
dream in the 4th dimension.
Okay.
The 5th dimension is where New Earth is and where New Heaven is.
And where is that? Because I've seen I've saw some from I forget the name of the beings and stuff, but they're from the star
Pleiadians.
system. No, it's
No.
not Pleiadians. It's another one. Not around Orion's belt. There's another
And I would have
whole
to-
group of.
Arcturians?
Yeah, it could have been. I forget, but it's really incredible when you start looking at this stuff.
Our
And-
eyes can only see out of all the
Yeah.
visible, like visible and gamma ray and X-ray, and we can only see if we took mileage from California to New York City and use that as a scale. Our visible range is only the size of a dime. Within that 2,400, I don't remember what it was.
3,000.
The size of a dime. So it could be happening right here around us.
So yeah, they
I
say
think
that
so, too.
reality is like a radio, and that if it can be adjusted, then at any
Yes.
moment in time and anywhere is all of history, every dimension.
Yeah.
We could literally turn the knob and see dinosaurs walking here,
Mm.
or adjust the frequency enough to go into where the angels are at.
Because everything is happening all at once. And
in one
that's,
spot.
yeah.
There's basically only empty space, even in between atoms.
and they don't even think that's empty anymore. The empty space isn't even empty.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It really is light. We don't even understand what light is.
So, and we are light.
We're
Our
light.
cells are light.
I
So
know. There's so much.
So Patrick, will you come back and talk with us again?
Of course.
That sounds like
Thanks for having me.
That's
no, thank
awesome.
you.
This was
Yeah,
fantastic,
yeah.
and
So
look
for-
forward to doing more of these about all of this
So-
topic. To me, I just find it fascinating. Absolutely
It
fascinating.
really is.
So thanks for listening.
So yes, thank you for listening. Everybody go to itstopictotopic.com. This episode will be under episodes out
we're
there.
going to have the coolest stuff going on
Oh,
all the way.
Thank you.
Thanks,
very much.
Patrick. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.